Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast here with Jessica Bun Bun, and this is our Grotesquerie Season 1, Episode 10 finale, reaction, and review. Here's what this video is going to be like. We're going to have some really intense, at times emotional conversations, and then right before we get to the meat of the video, we're just going to end, and then you're going to be stuck waiting for a really long time to get any answers.
Ryan Murphy, why can't you ever land the plane when it comes to the finale? You have these great stories, great actors. It's trucking along. I mean,
Yep.
oh my God, there was episodes this season I was so excited about. Episode 7, I couldn't wait to get back to episode 8.
Yep.
How have you not figured out after all this time how to end a show? Like, it still may be coming back
Yeah.
for season 2, or probably. I mean, as of this recording, we don't know yet, but it'll probably be coming back. And here's the thing: even if it wasn't, or it is, or it isn't, you still have to have some sort of satisfying finale on this. Like, I feel like we're at the exact same place where we started, where we have the Grotesquerie murders. We don't know who's doing it, and Lois may still be in a coma. At the end and the beginning and the middle. And welcome back to the beginning.
Listen, everybody, time is a flat circle. We're just going
Oh,
around and
year
around.
long,
Okay,
Matt.
so that joke will never die. I don't hate this finale, I think, as much as a lot of people out there do. I've seen social media. I have seen people, we're recording this on Halloween. I've seen people put on their scary masks and metaphorically chase Ryan Murphy down the street. I do think there are some big problems. I don't think that there were enough answers, but I think insofar as mood, atmosphere, performance goes, the questions that the show is raising, I'm still on board with it. I'm still excited about what a
Mhm.
season 2 could bring. They could have done more to get us more excited, but I am kind of sitting back here and being like, you know what? Who is Grotesquerie, really? And honestly, let's all think about this. Would they have given us an answer to this question that would have actually satisfied everybody? Are we doing the who is Raymond Reddington all
Right.
over again, where there's no answer that's going to make everybody happy?
I think that's where we're going with it, that they will give a non-answer by the end of all of this, and we will all just be collectively pissed off.
Well, that's fine. I look forward to when that day comes because I do eventually want an answer here too, guys. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we are, of course, going to get into everything with this Grotesquerie finale, what worked, what didn't. But before we do, be sure to hit that subscribe button because, yes, we know Grotesquerie is over. That is sad, but rest assured, there's a lot of great stuff happening
Mhm.
here at the channel still. We are in the midst of a really interesting mystery thriller called The Four on Apple TV Plus that is well worth checking out, in addition to From on MGM Plus. And coming up in November, Silo Season 2. We're back, baby. I'm so excited to talk about that show.
And coming up in December, we also have Dexter coming back, and we'll be
Yeah.
covering that here at the channel too. And also,
Mhm.
if you're interested in checking out our Penguin reviews, they are exclusively over on our
Yes.
Patreon. We will leave a link for you below in the description
Yeah.
for you to be able to join and check those out. And coming up, we're also going to be covering Dune Prophecy, and we're going to be covering Landman, exclusively only on our Patreon. So thank you so much to everyone who has joined.
Thank you, guys. We really appreciate
Okay,
that.
let's get on our tinfoil hats
Okay.
for the last time this
I'm ready.
season. Everybody's in a coma. I think that Lois and Marshall are both in a coma. There was like this one moment where Merritt was talking to the doctor, and the doctor
Yeah.
was like something along the lines of, "Oh, it must be really hard for you having both your parents here," while she was at the hospital. And I was like, "Both your parents are here? What? Wait, what?" Marshall at that point wasn't there anymore. He shouldn't have been there anymore. So I was kind of like, okay, so are they both there and they're both still in comas? Like, did something else happen?
I don't think it's a crazy idea to think about because we have to think in terms of perspective here with this show for a moment
Yeah.
because we're seeing a lot of scenes from Lois's point of view, but then we're also seeing other scenes from other points of view that Lois would not be privy to, such
Right.
as what's going on with Marshall leading up to the eventual meeting of the He-Man woman haters, which I will have plenty to say about that meeting a little bit later on down the road. But there are things that Lois fundamentally could not know unless we are sort of imagining how Lois is perceiving how these events are happening.
We've also seen two very different perspectives on this round table with Lois, Marshall, and Red. We
Yeah.
saw one where she gave these divorce papers and he reacted extremely badly and was
Yeah.
basically like, Lois, you are the worst person ever. And that was how that went seemingly in her head, seemingly in his head, or possibly hers, but I think this one's now in his head. He's calm. He's even keeled. Everything is great. Free love for all. Let's all live together. It'll be all right. And I was just like, what is happening here? Like, you have completely turned from, even Lois was just like, what? I don't understand what's happening. Like,
Yeah.
a couple days ago, you were like, I hate you. Get out of my life. And now you're like, let's all live together. Like, none of this makes any sense. And that's because they're both in comas.
Okay. Here's where I'm landing here, because I do think they're both in comas is a pretty reasonable theory, because we have seen both of them lying in hospital beds at various points in the show. Like,
Yes.
that's a pretty clear clue. The other idea I'm sort of toying around here is, for those of you who watched Hannibal on NBC many years ago, the idea of memory palace was brought up, and it's been
Yeah.
on other shows too. And I'm kind of wondering at this point if a lot of what we're seeing on Grotesquerie, at least post episode 7 and beyond, because I do think that what they're saying is literal, that everything up to episode 7 was in Lois's coma. But now we're kind of seeing this molding of worlds where Lois is out of the coma, but at the same time, her memory palace is sort of haunting her and everything that she's seeing. So she's seeing some things that are real, but then she's also seeing things that are sort of manifestations still of this world that she's created, because she has sort of suffered this break where, because of the trauma and because of everything that she's gone through, she's almost dissociating in the moment from what's in front of her and what she thinks is in front of her. And we saw a little bit of this in the therapy sessions here, where she might have a little bit of this complex going on, where she's perceiving the worst case version of every single thing in the world that is directly in front of her, because she thinks she has to be the savior, that she has to rid the world from sin. And I think there's a chance that that's a little bit of what's going on here. Whereas with Marshall, we're seeing a separate sort of distortion where he thinks the whole world is against him. So he's blowing it up in his head, and we're seeing this society of horrible men all coming together and all being like, rah, with each other, which I cannot believe is anything real, because nobody acts like that. It's the most obnoxious, upsetting thing. I hated every second of that scene. I'm sure that's the intention of it, but I was just being like, can you guys end this already? I need to check out from this meeting.
No, this meeting with Marshall and Ed and everything that was going on, none of this made any sense. This was not real. I don't believe that this happened whatsoever. That by the end of this meeting, he's shaking hands with his son-in-law who slept with his wife, and everything's
Yeah.
A-okay. Everybody that's there are like the doctors and people that he has seen at the hospital. So I'm just like, okay, he's still in the hospital. None of this makes any sense. This would not be a thing that's happening, one, with him and Ed. But then two, why are all the doctors there? I was like, there's no way. He's just seeing people that are around him at the hospital, and now they're all at this meeting to make him feel better about what he did or didn't do.
Yeah, I think we are viewing a lot of distortions just sort of brought about by how people want to think about themselves. We have Marshall, who is somebody who clearly wants to be Mr. Woe is me, despite the fact that I've done a lot of terrible things and I am like king of philandering based on everything we've seen on this
Yes.
show. And then we have Lois, who has gone through a lot of significant problems in her life, who has experienced a lot of things on the job. And I think because of what's happened to her in some of her cases in the past, she thinks the worst of other people. And what I kind of view this final scene, this tableau, if you will, as is, we have here Megan bringing Lois to the scene. I think she's imagining Megan say certain things to her. I think there is a dead body. I think there's a chance that the dead body could in fact be Charlie, but I kind of feel like a lot of the specifics, the visuals, the spectacle, the similarity to the dreams, if I'm to believe that we are not in a dream, which is still very well possible, but if this is not a dream, there has to be certain parts of it that are made up or in her head, because otherwise this show is just full on supernatural, and I don't really think we're going there.
Or it's what Lois said, where she finally just confronted the doctor and was like, listen, so some of these Grotesquerie murders that I told you about,
Yeah.
they're happening, So somebody else knows about it. you, and it could be you. And he's just like, oh yeah, sure, it could be me, but it could be like 100 other people that listen to it as well, and have him kind of, pass the buck a bit, which is
Yeah.
fine. But if there's enough people that have heard about the tableaus and the different things that have been happening, this tableau makes more sense than the one with the family, because
Mhm.
as I said in the last video, there was a blood splatter that they showed on the wall when we first saw it in her coma, and then we saw the exact same blood splatter the exact same way when she's out of her coma, right? And that doesn't make any sense, because that would never happen twice exactly the same. It's not the way it works. However,
Mhm.
with this, where things are not exactly the same and it is involving possibly Charlie, this now feels like this is connected to the hospital, because he's there,
Mhm.
Charlie's there. There is this whole tableau that's been put together. It is not exactly the same. It's enough that whoever heard the story could have pieced it together in this way, and it's like, oh, this is close enough.
Think what's going to be curious about the next season, and Ryan unfortunately is not here, because then we would ask him this question alongside 1,000 others of,
Why can't you land the
yeah,
plane,
why
my
can't you land
guy?
the plane? And also, what do you actually want this show to be about? Is Grotesquerie a murder mystery?
No.
Yeah, I mean, if it was, then we could say, okay, season 2 could all be about, we're going to go
Who
through
did
all,
it?
yeah, who did it, who listened to these recordings, what's important here, what's not important. We could get together some suspects, but based on what Ryan has said, and interviews are not always canon, that is a rule we stick to here very much, but
Absolutely.
it seems like Ryan's whole vision of this show is almost about healing in an odd sort of way. He has called this one of the most optimistic shows he's ever done, which is an odd thing to say, but I think it really is to him about putting a lens on the worst things in society and then trying to figure out, how can I get better from them? How can I make the world better? And I think fundamentally, this is what Lois is confronting at the end of this season. It's this idea of, I've already visualized the worst things possible in my head. Now I'm starting to see them. Am I responsible for this, or is this just what the world is? And I mean, there's a lot of hopelessness there. If this is the world that it is, like, can you really help it? But then there's, I can try. I can be the one to try to fix things. And maybe that is the light shining down on all of us here.
Yeah, I mean, that does feel like what the show's about. I mean, when I first saw the trailer, I was like, ooh, this is going to be like Seven, but a
Yes.
TV show with these detectives that are, trying to figure it out. This detective and this nun, this is going to be so good. And it was good. There was a lot that I liked about it. I don't hate this finale as much as other people do,
I
but
know.
but at the same time, I feel like this finale gave me nothing. Like, I just feel nothing because I got nothing. Like, I'm still in the same spot here. But I do agree with what Ryan is saying. It's like the show was marketed as like a detective thriller kind of thing. And getting into it, it really is about this journey that people, this
Hmm.
family are taking, and looking at themselves, really looking at themselves, at the bad things they've done, the good things they've done, the questionable things they've done. We had the first like 7 episodes where it was really about Lois's guilt and what Lois had done in her life, and trying to reconcile those things. And if she ever had a second chance, what would she do differently? And now going into these last few episodes, it feels like it's more about Marshall, that he's really reflecting on what he's done or didn't do or
Yeah.
could have done, and how he thinks of himself, that he's this even keeled guy. Everything is fine. Everybody loves me. It's all great. I would never, nothing would ever bad happen. But that he's really having to kind of try to face it now with this tableau, since one of the people that accused him of stuff is in this tableau. He's
Yeah.
going to have to face some of it. But I think that scene with him in the group and Ed and everything was just his way of being, if he's in a coma or
Yeah.
if he's awake, trying to just reflect it away from him, to be like, no, 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 I'm okay. See, even Ed's okay with me. He was with my wife and he's okay with me. So if he's okay with me, and everybody's okay with me.
Ed and his magic haircut, which I want to just imagine as Travis comes into work one day and it's like, I don't want to wear that dumb hair anymore. And they're just
Right.
like, okay. No, I'm sure that's not what happened. But I do think that the biggest thing this finale missed is, they don't have to give us all the answers. Like, we've already talked about this. But I think the thing they would have been smart to give us is just a proper delineation of what is real and what is artificial or what is made up, who's in a coma, what's happening. I think if they could sort of at least give us more clues and a greater establishment of that, you still have a larger story to tell. You still have a larger mystery, and we can take away emotionally, what different visuals and what different sequences mean, but we at least feel grounded. We at least then understand the basic premise of the show.
Mhm.
But there's really no premise in the finale at this point. We don't need somebody to come out and, exposition dump all over us, but you can give us something that we can at least say, okay, that's a clue as to what's real and what's not, and we can run with that.
Yeah, because I mean, they gave us this cliffhanger
Yeah.
that Lois walks away and she's like, I know who did it, kind of
Yeah.
thing. But it's like, we don't know if you're still in a coma or
Yeah.
not. So great. Like, does it matter? Because you may just wake up from your second coma. Like,
Yeah.
there wasn't enough there that if Ryan didn't catch the people that he's going to catch,
Yeah.
besides us, we're coming back for season
sure.
2 if it comes back. But if he didn't really catch people and the people who are really upset about his finale don't
Yeah.
come back, there's not enough of a cliffhanger there because her going to the same tableau that she's already seen. Yeah, it's a little bit different, but it's basically
Yeah.
the same with Megan as well. And her just saying, oh, I know who did it. It's just like, it's not enough. We've been here before already.
He's put himself in a really strange corner here too, where he wants to continue this story, obviously. Like, that's pretty clear. I didn't expect all the answers going into this, but granted, we are in the industry, so we knew that Ryan wanted a season 2 in advance. We were able to go into this with that expectation. I'm not sure everybody out there could, but he also clearly operated with this weird level of fear, which is not something I feel for Ryan a lot of the time, where he wanted to leave it open so that he could bring back any of these actors again in some other capacity moving forward. This isn't like American Horror Story where it's a different cast. I mean, yeah, sure, he quote unquote took out Charlie, but does that really mean even Charlie is gone? No, that could be a distortion in its own way. Like, he's even hasn't written out Kelce, and who knows what that dude's gonna want to do,
I know.
next off season. He's a recurring cast member, but he just left so much open that I think he's just like, I'll figure it out down the road after I'm done doing 5 other shows.
Yeah, he's left it really open. I mean, anybody can and should be coming back. If we go into season 2 and Travis isn't there, I'm going to find it really weird. Like, he should still be there.
It's created this weird sort of uncertainty around everything with this show, which I'm sure he wants, but it is a very delicate sort of dance you're doing here, where it's like you want to please everybody who watched the show. You want to convince them to come back for more. You want to immerse them in the world, but if you leave people wondering too many questions, they're going to get frustrated. Like, we deal with this because we're covering From, which is a show on MGM that has a lot of really good storytelling, but I've seen from a lot of people out there that they're impatient at times because they just want answers and they're not getting any answers. And I think, at least I tend to be a little bit more patient than some people when it comes to getting answers, but I think we all have a certain threshold we're willing to deal with. Like, if the end of season 2 comes and we don't know anything more, at that point, I'm going to be straight up angry. I'm going to be, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I understand. And I understand people from that want more answers. We are in season 3 now. I have felt fine with the amount of answers that I have gotten with this show so far. I feel like it's moving along, at a slower pace, but that's fine. Not every show has to be running at full speed.
Yeah.
Like Grotesquerie did at many times, like that whole motel scene that was going on. It's just, I'm going to be back for this show. This finale didn't do it for me, and that's fine. If there's going to be more, that's great. Like, they have a chance to right the ship. Most of this season was really good. Like, I understand it was kind of frustrating for some people at the beginning of it, where it was like, nobody knows what's going on. But once you kind of figured out that maybe she was in a coma or something was going on, it made the show so much more fun. And then when they finally got to that reveal, 10 out of 10. It was so good. I was like, oh my God, it all made sense and everything just clicked together. That for me, when we get to the ending here where nothing is clicking together, I'm like, you know what? You guys gave me episode 7 where everything clicked together. So you did give me some answers.
Here is probably the one biggest thing I would change moving into a season 2. And I think this is the biggest issue with the past few episodes in general. We all know that Niecy is an amazing actress. We all know that Courtney is an amazing actor. And,
Yes.
same with everybody else on the show.
Yeah.
It felt at times, though, that the producers really just had this insistent need to give us these long, sweeping 5-minute conversations between characters. And they were just like, okay, we're going to let Niecy cook for a while. Niecy can still cook without having these long, drawn out scenes where at times it didn't feel like we covered any new ground that we hadn't covered previously. And it kind of felt at times in these final episodes that the show was spinning their wheels a little bit. I just want in a season 2 that they speed some things up a little bit and let people have other ways to shine. I mean, Niecy deserves all the Emmys in the world. I mean, you'll never see me argue that. I just want to see a wider variety of sequences because it felt like this finale in particular, one long scene, another long scene, another long scene, so much dialogue, but not actually a lot of action around the dialogue that come an hour into it. I was sitting back and being like, there's like 15 minutes left. I don't know if anything has actually happened.
Episode 7 needed to be the finale. Like it did with a little bit extra at the end where it's kind of a real question is she really back or not. I would have gone into the next season. I couldn't wait. Like I couldn't wait for that next episode for episode 8 to come in. Episode 8 and episode 9, she was just on such an apology tour and it was just a lot of discussion and dealing with what she did and her part in things and other people's part in things and how to get to the other side of that. And then this last episode felt like it was really, now it's Marshall's turn and now he's the guy in the coma maybe and he's dealing with his own past and his own skeletons in his closet. And it's just like they could have set that up next year or next whenever the next season is.
I don't disagree with that take at all about episode 7 being the finale. I think that could have been a great way to do it. And just that would be the thing that would really get people addicted and being like, okay, now I got to see where things go. And then you could have had this long continued arc for season 2. Alas, we are here and this is the end of Grotesquerie season 1. But thank you guys for being with us.
Thank you.
On this very, very crazy and dark journey. This is a very dark show, but hopefully, just like Ryan said, there will be a light shining down upon all of us. But be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our other coverage of a lot of other great shows coming up, including Before, which is already on the air. And if you want to support us further, join our Patreon. The link is in the description. Exclusively over there, we are doing the Penguin. And then moving forward, we have Dune Prophecy as well as Landman. Thank you so much
Thank you
to everyone supporting us. And we'll see you there next time.